travelers, it is Natalie here again, and today I'm going to talk about a very wanted topic, or a very popular topic here on YouTube, which is being black in Korea. So I think that the wanted or the most feared thing about being a woman or a man of color in a different, like a homogenous society like Korea, is being singled out or standing out amongst the crowd, basically being stared at. Now, I'm not gonna say that you do not get looked at here in Korea, because you do. And especially when you come from a country where you blend in and you don't really stick out amongst the crowd, to a country where you are most likely the only person of color in 10 square miles, it can be unnerving and really annoying. You'll find people looking at you, staring at you on more than enough occasions. And, you know, at first, when I first came here, it was really annoying. And you probably, if you been watching my videos from the start, you know, I've talked about it briefly and I'm just like, ugh, if it could stop, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, being here in Korea for, what, 7 months, going on 7 months now, you know, it honestly becomes a part of life. And it's just, you know, you just get used to it. It's just like, I actually walk around with my glasses all the time, my sunglasses, and I just put them on like I'm a big celebrity. Or, you know, I just make sure that I look good from every angle. Now, one thing I do want to say is that the majority of stares I get come from ajumas, ajashis, and maybe even like middle-aged women. I don't get too many stares from younger kids, like middle school, high school age, or young adults. Of course, you get looks at by little kids because they're like, whoa. But like the school age students, I think that they get a lot of that within, like a lot of diversity within their classroom, where I feel like schools are trying to add some kind of diversity, or they have an English teacher that's from another country. They're becoming very open to the world of pop culture and seeing faces of different colors. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, they're aspiring to have darker, glowing, tan skin, because that is definitely not the thing, but they're becoming a lot more kind of neutralized about seeing people of different skin tones around. The kind of stares that always get me are the ones when you are literally looking at that person and they just sit there and they literally look you up and down, like up and down, and you're just like, okay, what is going on? What is wrong with my body? But then you got to think about it again. They probably haven't seen you. They probably haven't seen a body type like ours, curvaceous kind of things. They haven't seen that. So it's just like, what is that? But honestly, I don't take it to heart. I think at first, when I first came here, I was just like, it's too much. But now it's just like, whatever. Now, I do want to point out that there is definitely a difference between staring and looking. I don't feel like Koreans stare as much as you may think. Like, when I mean stare, I mean like sitting there and looking. I mean, I know that there's many people that has had that experience where people are just staring consistently at you. But in my opinion, I have seen people that, you know, that do stare occasionally, but they just happen to look. And if you kind of get like have eye contact with them, then they're just like, okay. However, on the other hand, I'm going to tell you this experience that I had when I was down in Seoul. I was visiting Gwanghwamun Palace. If you guys don't know, that is the Joseon Dynasty Palace, the main palace in Seoul. And I was just happened to be walking around, and I saw all these tour groups of Asian people, just Asian people tour groups. And I learned that they were Chinese tourists. These groups, the Chinese tourists, they stared at me more than any other person I have ever come in contact with in Korea. The Chinese tourists, it was like I was the attraction at Gwanghwamun. So there were some girls dressed up in hanboks at the Gwanghwamun Palace, and of course you guys stand out, so everybody wants to take a picture with you guys. So there was a long line of Chinese tourists waiting in line to take a picture with these girls. Now, these girls were trying to get away because they've already been standing there for like a while. So I was like, I kind of mimed to them like, after me, I'll let you guys go kind of thing. And they're like, okay. So I go in, take my little picture with my selfie stick. And then, you want to know what happens? I become the attraction. So now, the Chinese tourists that were standing, waiting in line for these girls in hanboks, now changed their mind and decided to stand in line waiting for me to take a picture with me. Yes, like seriously. And I'm just like, awkward. That wasn't supposed to be the plan, but that's what happened. But anything dealing with pictures and being stared at, it's always been Chinese tourists that have been the most ferocious when it comes to that. Now, another question I know people ask is, have I experienced any kind of racism, any kind of discrimination while I'm here because of my skin color? I have not experienced anything. Now, it could be a mix of, one, because I'm kind of antisocial, I don't really go anyplace, because I really don't do much. But honestly, I haven't really experienced anything that has really turned my experience here sour. I'm not saying that there's not going to be an experience that may happen, but in my opinion, in my experience, I have not experienced anything like that. And I'm very fortunate because, you know, I'm almost a year here, so it's like I'm pretty comfortable where I am and where I go, and I feel comfortable, you know, in my skin. I see that a lot of people get really offended when people ask where they're from or ask if they're from Africa, and I think it's because Africa has this negative connotation that all black people come from Africa, Africa is poor, this image of Africa. And I think people have to understand that in Korea, the concept of nationality and ethnicity is very different compared to our perception of nationality and ethnicity in these English-speaking countries like America and the UK, Australia, things like that. Mainly because in Korea, if you look a certain way, you are considered Korean. That is your ethnicity, that is your nationality. However, when I try to explain this concept to my students, they're like surprised that people from any background, any race, from any country can become American. American is not an ethnicity. American is a nationality, and therefore anybody could become an American. Whereas, you know, if no matter how long I stay in Korea, I learn Korean perfectly, I'm here for 60 plus years, I would never be considered Korean. I would always be considered a foreigner. So I think that kind of misconception comes into play when people are assuming that you're from Africa, because they associate African skin color with that nationality. So again, I understand it's kind of like this kind of confusion, like, oh, black people can't be from America. It's just that ideal of nationality versus ethnicity is not really apparent in their country. It's not a huge thing, you know, and of course this country is still homogenous. So I think give people a break when they assume that you're from Africa, because they just assume everybody who's darker skin is from Africa. I mean, I get that a lot. I had somebody come up to me and tell me that they were learning Swahili, and I'm like, well, that's good for you. I mean, this doesn't apply to me. But overall, in Korea, I have experienced just this overwhelming kind of love and this warmth with the people that I've met. I haven't really experienced any negativity. I've just, you know, anywhere I go, people are excited when I walk into their store. They're like, oh, it's a foreigner. You know, they show me their love, especially if I'm a repeat customer. They're like, whoa, she came here again. Let me give her some more stuff, you know. But that's just what I've experienced in my time here, and I really, really enjoy it, to the point where I'm considering staying another year. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I hope that this kind of opened your eyes on my experience with being a woman of color here in Korea. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Mwah. Bye.